discussing business and really your just reflections for business as it relates to empowering your life and yourself through business, marketing, and finances. What I like about what's happening today, which is a reflection of why I started the show, it was really discussing real issues, real people, real events. And here it is, this is what COVID in opening our show has done for us. So Nakimbe has her granddaughter with her joining us today as another additional unexpected guest. So we welcome her, Jordan, to the show. So this is it for all us moms out there that are juggling. This is what real life looks like. So I'll let Nakimbe kind of take over and introduce herself and share a little bit about herself in this moment.
Yeah, okay. Well, Tanya, thank you for the introduction. So my name is Nakimbe Baobab. I am the CEO and founder of Mappdom International Digital Marketing and Mobile Apps. I'm an academic and industry award winner, a life self-empowerment coach, and a TEDx presenter. So that is what I do. And this is my grandbaby Jordan, as Tanya mentioned.
Right. So walk me through this process. Like when I hear, help me understand what it feels like to empower yourself through business, marketing, and finances. What does that look like? What does that feel like?
Okay, well, so I've been working in the private and public sector for over 21 years now with all sorts of industries from startups to Fortune 500 companies. And what I've noticed with small business owners is that they tend to not have any real organized systems or structures. I mean, if you haven't gone to school for business, if you don't have an MBA or something like that, if you're just somebody with passion and drive who wants to start a business, you really have to try to figure it out on your own. And there are key steps that I have noticed are missing in the way that some entrepreneurs go about building their business because they don't have that either academic or corporate background. Right. And so what I found is that there are 4 key pieces or 4 key elements that are actually the cornerstones of a proper foundation. If you think about, building a house, I always liken it to, everyone's trying to be popular on social media. So, they're taking selfies and they're doing all sorts of things and staging all sorts of things and dancing and trying to get followers that way, thinking that those followers are going to buy and they're going to make money. And that's just not how it works in the real world. Like, that's not what corporations do. Social media is a part of a larger corporate marketing strategy, but that's not what they focus on. There are pillars. And when I see small businesses, the pillars that they seem not to understand are all equally weighted and are all important to have in place before you actually start to build your business are these 4 foundational pieces. So the first one is just about your life. Like, if you think you're going to start a business and it's going to rescue you from your life, you're going to make money and everything is going to be happy, you're going to have wonderful relationships, it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? Money usually just magnifies more of who you are.
I know, it's funny how that is, eh?
Right. So I'm like, the first thing you need to really do is examine your life. One of the things that we look at in business is that they always have a mission statement and like a vision statement for their company. They have company values and ethics and principles, and they really focus on their organizational culture. And then they bring up their staff and management with that sort of notion or feeling, and that carries out into their service and products and how they deal with customers, right? So they're working from the inside out, where a lot of small business owners today are trying to work from the outside in, and it doesn't really work that way. So the point is that you for yourself also have to have your own personal vision statement and mission statement for your life, right? And once you know what that is and sort of what your purpose is or what you want to do, because if procrastination is an issue for you, it's going to be an issue for you in business. If time management is an issue for you, it's going to be an issue for you in business. If you have issues with relationships or relationship to self, it's going to show up in your business. So I always say, you know what, you have to get your life legacy and your legend plan sort of in place. So that's the first sort of foundational piece. And then the second one to look at is your finances, because I found that a lot of people don't even understand, personal finances, much less the complexities that come with managing a business, right? So it's like, once you have all your life stuff in order and in place, then the next thing you really want to start to look at is your finances? What are your fears, concerns, your scares, your mentality around finances? What's your, so you want to start a business to make money. That's fantastic. But how much money do you need to make? What is your credit score? When do you want to retire? How much money do you want to have a retirement? What's the inflation rate going to be? And how much do you have to save to have that much? Like, do people do that? I find that people spend more time planning their wedding than they do their actual financial life, right? So that's the second pillar that I help people work on. I've been in the finance industry again for about 20 years. Right? So you get your life pillar in place, and then you get your financial pillar in place, and then you can start to work on your business. And what do you want to do? What are you passionate about? What are you good at? And why do you want to do it? How does it feed into your life's mission and vision, right? Because I find that people who are just chasing money, they tend to hop from opportunity to opportunity, this guru to that guru, this self-development coach to the other self-development coach, always looking for someone to sort of like rescue them, right? But you really have to have, like I said, those foundational stuff in place. And then once you know why you're doing the business and you're not just in it for the money, then you can start to have a strategic business plan, just like you've planned out your life and just like you've planned out your finances. You can have a business plan, and then from there you can implement strategic marketing. So that's why I say this, because some people will come to me and they want to market their business, but they think that the marketing is going to save them, or basically they think that the marketing is going to save them. I'm like, marketing is not going to save you if you don't have a viable business or a good business plan, or it's not in alignment with who you are. Like, go ahead. Do you want to say something?
No, it was funny because I'm listening to all of it and I'm like, you know, um, when you talk about, your life, that first piece, and it's really defining with purpose with marketing. And I kind of, when I hear marketing, I think it parallels to sharing. So all of a sudden I understand what my purpose is, and now I want to contribute and why I want to share this, gift and talent that, I'm passionate about. And I want to help enhance the lives of other individuals.
Right.
And I think a lot of times, for me personally, I noticed in my own coaching is that we all understand to some degree what makes us happy when we're doing something, whether we're giving or we're giving a lending ear or however we use that talent for others. And I find that we fear taking it to the next level, to exposing it to the world, because we are afraid of the shame, the judgment, and all that stuff that goes with it.
Right. And that comes back to the first part. Like I'm saying, the first pillar, which is the life pillar. I do have people that are afraid to post on social media. They don't want to be seen. Their website goes live, their landing page goes live. That happened to me the first time I pushed my site live. I'm like, oh my gosh, people are going to see this. Like, my heart was pounding. I felt like I was stepping on the stage of a musical production. Like, it was really something. And I try very hard to work past my fears, but not everybody has the ability to do that. So then what are you going to do? In today's marketplace, you have to sort of be like that, right?
And that's where I believe in community, because certainly I wouldn't be on Tanya Talks right now if I didn't have the amazing support of so many people around me. And it is about understanding what you talked about, that mission statement and vision. And when you're very clear about it, then you can enroll people into that vision with you, and really get clear on that communication piece and be able to express that. And once you can get to that place, I feel that people are able to now enlist and enroll others to help advance that vision.
Yeah. I completely agree.
It's huge, right? So it takes the angst out of, okay, what if I make a mistake? I laughed because last week I kind of felt like God had popcorn and he was sitting back watching a movie when I launched on Wednesdays a couple of days ago. And, as we had the glitches and everything else. And that's what stops people, like, oh my gosh, I just went live and everybody is watching this. And I thought it was comical. I thought it was funny. And I'm human. So there was a little bit of angst in it, but more of me felt like an out of body experience watching in, saying, okay, how's this going to play out? So I kind of felt like God was,
how am I going to handle this? That's like personally, right? And the thing is, we're all actually in the same boat. A lot of social media people are always, making themselves seem, happier, greater, prettier than they are. You know what I mean? They take 100 pictures to post the one, and then they use a filter. It's not real life.
Right.
So I think when people start portraying real life and being authentic, like, you know, your babysitters ditch you and then you have to and then you have, you know, your grandbaby on a webinar. I mean, life happens. So people are actually able to connect, and that opens up, I think, the channels for, you know, communication, because they can relate. They can't always relate to the beauty and the filters and the stuff like that. I think that's why reality TV is so popular. And I think that that's why also, you know, drama series are so popular, because it's like they're watching somebody going through what they're going through, the drug addiction, the alcohol, you know, you hate your job, the affair or the issue with your spouse, or like the mental health issue, the diet, whatever. Like television covers it all. Why do we watch it? Why are we so engaged? Yes, part of it is escapism, but there's also a relatability that's there that you don't see in your job or sometimes with your friends, because everybody's pretending to be so perfect, right? So anyway, that's my personal experience and what I found.
And it's weird because there's two kind of streams also to it where, you know, we're trying to be this perfect and we're so afraid of failure, but at the same time we're also afraid of success.
You know what? That is a good point. I think people are afraid of success. And I think that for those people who are afraid of failure, they have to understand that failure is a part of success. No one sort of steps off the cliff and just starts to fly. You will usually stumble and fall quite a few times, but there's always invaluable learning in those processes that you actually need to strengthen you. I actually just posted that on my Instagram today at Nakimbe Baobab, just in case anyone wants. But yeah, I posted something about Beyonce today. She's like, you know, don't let fear stop you. It strengthens you and it gives you the characters and the traits you need to succeed and be competitive in this highly competitive world, right? If success was easy, everybody would do it.
Right. It's interesting because as I would, you know, I've been doing this for many years. For those of you that know me and that have followed me, but for those of you that don't know me, you know, I've been life coaching and everything for about 20 plus years, and just really desiring to help people in this world. And it's interesting being a mom and being a role model to two female children, and all the messages that I drive home to my own children. I thought to myself, well, if I can't be the example, I have to lead the way. I have to show them that, you know what, there is no mistakes. Okay, you know what, I took a risk. I did this, and this is how it turned out. And it's about helping your children develop resilience through you. It's about the bounce back muscles. Okay, how are we going to handle it? This is life. This is how we're
It is
bouncing back.
absolutely life. It is
So,
absolutely like, I think those fairy tales they tell us when we're young are quite misleading.
right. And I think that we as parents, not just women, not just mothers, but as parents, we really need to challenge ourselves to be that example. You know, the best way of communication that you can ever give everybody is how you lead your life, less talking and more just by example. And okay, you know, this is what happened. So I almost, in its own irony, not that I wanted it to roll out with a technical issue, but you know, on Wednesday, but it was almost like, all right, girls, look, this is how moms bounce back. This is how moms, you know, this is what life looks like. Right?
Absolutely. Right. And when they see you come through it or pivot and succeed, or show the vulnerability, I mean, it teaches them all. I mean,
Right.
it all teaches them, I should say. I know that, you know,
Right.
my son has often said that when life challenges come up, he sort of is able to handle it because he's like, I've seen my mom do something like this. You know what I mean? Whereas, and there's no right or wrong way to parent per se, but you know, it's not like I was in the room hiding it and then coming out and pretending that everything was great. Like, no, I'm in breakdown. And it's okay for me to tell you I'm in a breakdown, and it's okay for men and women to be in breakdown, and it's healthy to seek help, you know. But if we're not doing those things, then how are they going to learn necessarily, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's I just, so it's really, so I guess the question would be, how do we help somebody actually identify what their gift and talent is and their purpose is? Like, okay, so now they're like, okay, um, do you have any suggestions or anything that, you know, when people ask me this one question, I think I really tend to go to, what can you do all day long, or what can you give away to people without wanting a monetary exchange? What's that one thing that excites you? That, you know, I've had moments in my life where I've had migraines and crazy headaches, and I get on a conversation that I have the opportunity to help somebody transform their life. And I come off that phone call and I'm like, wow, my headache's gone. And
Mm.
why? Because I feel like I've become in alignment with the truth of who I am, of that contribution that I have to offer and share to another person.
Okay. Um, I'm going to challenge that. I'm not going to challenge it, but I'm going to offer something else because I've heard that. Like I have a book on my bookshelf called, um, How to Find the Purpose of Your Life or something. I think that
Right.
that's what it is. And there are quotes by Oprah, etc., that are like, there are two. What's the matter? You just want attention. You're like everybody else. Everybody. Oh, you want me to open it? This is her toothbrush. Here you go. Is that what you want? Good girl. Yeah, you brush your teeth. Yeah. There are the two most important days of your life, the day you're born and the day you find out why or your purpose or something like that. And I gotta say, I'm 47, 48 in February in a few months. And that's not how it worked out for me. I read books, I went to seminars, I tried all sorts of ways to find my purpose. Why am I here? And it didn't really work out. But I think after a while, once I started to sort of be true and authentic to myself, like that's another post I put today on my Instagram at Nakimbe Baobab on Instagram. It's know thyself and to thyself be true. And I think everything good can stem from that one part. And I think that's a significant piece that people don't know. So how can you know what what your purpose is if you don't even know who you are? I think
Right.
it's important to step back and take time to say, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? When am I my ugliest? When am I pretending to be something that secretly in my head I'm not? Can I get negative feedback from people, or not feedback, negative feedback, but get feedback from people? Ask, the 5, 10 or closest people around you, like, what am I really like? Like, tell me the good and the bad. I ask people that, and it's not easy to hear, but people aren't always going to tell you your shortcomings to your face, right? And once you know what those are, I think that you can either work to change them if you want to, or you can say, this is something I just take ownership of. Like I was always accused of being selfish because like I work a lot, or, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't feel like in my, wow, what a little actress here. We're going for an Emmy, babe. Like, um, what am I willing to take ownership of? So the thing that I was being, yes, have some, you can have more. Like I know in my heart that I'm not selfish, but if I'm coming across to everybody else like I'm selfish, then I have to consider that that is who I am to other people. There's no point in fighting it. Oh, well, I'm just working this hard because I'm growing this business for us. You know what? No, it's all about you. So I'm gonna probably get a toy for her because she's acting for the camera. But again, we all do that, Jordan.
We love her.
Yeah. Here you go, baby. Oh yeah, yummy. No, that trick didn't work. Um, but yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So know thyself and to thyself be true. Take ownership of the things that you may not be so proud of. That way no one can really hurt you. Oh, you're selfish. Oh, you're ugly. Or you're mean. Or you did this. Take ownership of it. Most people want to hide, but we're all, again, we're all human. You're probably not the first, you're not the last, you're not going through it alone. And I
I
think
think
what
when people offer, I think when people offer feedback in life as to who we are, ask that question. I think it's a moment to sit back, and this we can go down a rabbit hole in this conversation because there's so many moving parts. I feel to it. It's not just one specific. When we look at it and we are talking about showing up being, it's examining that and taking it into consideration. So not being close to it, but that's where the authenticity piece is asking ourselves, is this true? Is this not true? We also, you like to project our insecurities and our fears as well. So whatever
right,
that person may need from us that we may not be able to fulfill, it comes across to them as being mean or selfish. And really, it's just something that we're just not capable of fulfilling for whatever they haven't dealt with within their own personal soul. So there's so many different moving parts. But then there's another side to it, too, that there is a possibility that we could be very well projecting that. And that's something for us to look at in ourselves. And that's where I think that the real work begins, where you take a moment to sit back and reflect and say, is this true or is this not? And kind of look at it objectively.
And take ownership of it all, whether it is
Right.
true or not for you or for them. Just let it be. It's okay. It's
Right.
okay.
And then once you reconcile that,
I got Jordan has locked herself out.
that's
So
fine.
I'll be right back.
Right. That's okay. So for all those of you who are looking, it's like, or listening, just until Nakimbe comes back. So I feel that it's a moment where we examine that, we take a step back and we observe it from all aspects, from all areas of our life, for those players that are involved and for us. And we get to a point where we get to reconcile what that looks like. Is that true? Am I selfish? Am I not? Are you dealing with an issue in your life that maybe I can't fulfill that need that you have? And that's a starting point. And that's very powerful when you get to that place where you get to that truth, because you're all of a sudden a sigh of relief. It takes that pressure off that person that keeps saying, you're selfish, you're selfish, you're selfish, you're selfish. And when you come to that reconciliation, whether it be, yes, I am, and I want to do something about it, or no, that's not true, they have an issue, all of a sudden the game changes for you. And you really do feel so much more powerful because you've reconciled that. So the purpose aspect of it, it's interesting when you bring up the purpose aspect of how it happened for you, with, dealing with that authenticity piece, which is the work. And I think that even for myself, talking about my migraine, it was every time I showed up being that person, people would shut that person down. It was like, well, you can't do that. You can't be a coach. You don't have experience. You haven't gone to school for that. You've got to take courses and spend thousands and thousands. And I thought, you know what was the definition of a life coach? It was people that had life experiences. And at the initial starting out of a coach, you had to be 40 plus years, because you had to have enough experience under your belt to say that I qualified myself to having it. What school did I go to? For all of those of you out there that have ever questioned my educational background, where it comes to this work that I do, my educational background is the school of life. This is my learning ground. It's getting up every day and taking risk and living my best life. It's not about living, it's a getting to my best life. And it's working through all that stuff so that I can get to my best life. And it's fabulous. For anybody out there that's ready to do this work, it is fabulous. It really gets you to a place of learning self-love, self-respect. The more that you do the work where you find that out, your purpose kind of does mold together. It does come together where you find out what your strengths are and you find out what you like and what makes you happy. And that's how I tapped in. I was like, oh my gosh, I have a headache. And it was because I was involved in the things that weren't in alignment with who I am. And the minute I became in alignment, and it's being aware of your body, your feelings, your mental state. The minute I got involved with something that was in alignment with my truth, my body was in the healthiest state. And it was like, this is my purpose. This is why I'm here. And
feel it, you do. It feels right. And if you don't ever sit still long enough to start to understand your own feelings, what feels, what doesn't, separate others from yourself, you can't get that feeling. You're trying to capture what society might be selling to you.
Right. And then the marketing piece for it, for all those of you out there that are not in business and that word marketing scares you, replace that marketing word with the word sharing. So you're really not marketing. And, that's just a fancier term of saying, I'm now taking this purpose that I have and I'm now sharing this piece of information with you. I'm sharing a piece of me with you. And I believe once you stand in your truth, everything, and you make that decision that this is it, everything starts to come together and everything starts to show up for you.
Absolutely. And you're confident when you move forward in it.
Right. And you can articulate. When we talk about the mission statement, all of a sudden communicating that becomes very easy, because there's really nothing to communicate. You're just really sharing this, and you're having exactly what this is all about. You're just having a conversation about it. And you're offering something that just feels right for you, that when you close your eyes at night and you go to bed, all of a sudden you feel like you've given the day your best because you stay true to who you are.
Yeah, I think that plays in really nicely to what I was saying before with, the first pillar is just knowing yourself, really taking a look at your life and your legacy and your legend. And, what do you want to be known for? What's your vision? And that's what I talked about in my TED Talk. What's your vision? And once you create that and you know what it looks like in your mind's eye, you can move towards it. But if you don't even create that vision, you're just sort of trying to get goals, but do they feed into anything? And, after you achieve the goal, then what? And sometimes you achieve a goal and there's still a feeling of emptiness. But I do want to talk about what you were saying in terms of don't think about it as marketing, think about it as sharing. And I really like that as a digital marketer myself, because one of the things I get my clients to do is, like, we have this thing called core 4 technology processing, right? Where we take a look at the business and we don't just ask them the sort of clinical marketing questions. How long have you been in business? How many clients do you have? What are your services and products? Those are sort of very dry topics. We sort of get to, like, well, who are you? And why did you start this business? We try to get to the emotion of what the business is and infuse that emotion in all of the marketing collateral. So it sort of comes across like a subliminal story where you just get a feeling. And that's what marketing is really about. It's conveying a feeling. And when you say sharing, sharing, there seems to me anyway to be an emotional part to the sharing. Like, there's something that's intangible when you share. It's not always just about the physical giving. It's the feeling you get from giving and the feeling you get from receiving, right? And so in Mappdom, what we try to do when we're working with a client is we try to capture that feeling. It's not just the definition of what is sharing or what is giving. It's not the clinical definition of it. It's really capturing the emotion, like the DNA of the business.
Right.
And then we create the marketing plan, which is just sharing your story, sharing your passion, sharing your why of the business. Most people just want to, oh, we do this, we do that, we do this, and it costs this much. But there's so much more. Like, the consumer and the buyer doesn't care about that. We care about the stories, we care about connecting, and that's what makes good marketing.
Right. And it's and right. And the more authentic you can be and true to who you are, is the more that from, I'm a manifester, educator in terms of the law of attraction, and the more authentic and true to who you are and you're sharing that emotion, the strongest energy point in your body is your heart, I believe. And if your heart dies, the body dies. If the brain dies, you can keep the body alive. So I don't know how it works. I'm not going to explain it. I just know that when you feel something, that energy emits itself and it wants to attach to it. So you are correct. When you get to that feeling of what it is and the truth to what it is, that energy, like, you feel so good about it. You're dancing and you're so happy about it. It fills you up so much that it has to go up there. Like, that energy has to put itself somewhere. So it just throws itself out there. And those people that are resonating on that frequency, I say, will attach itself and come to
absolutely resonating on that frequency. And we
you.
talk about that. We talk about, your message is not for everybody, it's for a particular audience, right? And I think that is what Mappdom does. I think is that we capture the heart of your business and we market that.
And that's why I call it your reflection, because your business really is your soul.
Right, totally.
It's your canvas. It's how you're expressing yourself, how you're painting yourself, how all that stuff is your reflection. When you talk about finances, you now have a responsibility of people, involved in this opportunity to share your soul with the world. And there's a level of responsibility. And how do you take care of people?
Staff, right? You're paying your staff. You got to make sure business works so you can pay your staff. Let me just check on. Oh, she's just taking everything out of the closet. So
having fun. She's doing what she's supposed to be doing.
Good job, Jordan. What else is in there? I should have brought attention. I should just left her home. Yeah.
So when you look at it from that perspective, all of a sudden it shifts things. It's a level of responsibility, but there's a level of contentment that goes with it. That you've been given this responsibility, and it allows you to step up to some degree. It's like, all right, but and I call it, for me, I had to grow up. Like if anybody, I told everybody that I was so immature, and all of a sudden it was like, all right, it's time to grow up,
Yeah,
right?
I'm kind of there now at 47. I'm like, it's about time, I guess. No more Peter Pan for me. I don't think my Peter Pan will ever die though, but
Well, I'll always keep my youthfulness about me, but there was a balance between, all
yeah,
right,
I get it.
this is a little bit more real than not, right? So it's interesting when you make the comment that, I remember, I'm sure a lot of people of you out there have read, with finances and money, more money is just going to make highlight more of who you are. So if you were a very stingy person, before, you'll be a very stingy person later on. And what I have always maintained in my life is, for all of anybody that's challenging, that wants more money to come into their life, I always challenge people to put it out there. Just put it out there, share it. I continue to harp on, or use the word sharing, because really that's what it is. It's just circulating itself and sharing. When you're buying groceries, just put it out there, just share it. You buying groceries from that grocery store is keeping all those people employed, and you're contributing to that, and you're getting something in
And
return.
it come back to you for sure.
Right. So I always say to people, when you're kind of thinking about, oh, I have bills to pay, just, well, guess what? Find somebody to share your money with and feel good about it. To say, okay, you know what? Currency just wants me to circulate it at this moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's never the dollar amount. I've always preached this, that it's never the dollar amount. It's never, you can give $1 and with the purest heart, and that will come back to you. So like you could get that back to you more than you ever expected. And you can give, $100, begrudgingly, and that won't really come back to you at all. So always reconcile in your heart what that feels like to you, what that amount feels like, and feel good about it. But whenever you're kind of backed up and you're like, okay, well, I'd like to invite more money to come into my life from the financial perspective, well, then share it, circulate it, put it out there. All
I
right.
like that. Yeah, I completely agree.
Because it really just is currency, and we contribute. Like, it's funny. I support a local grocery store in the area that I live in. And, I go in there all the time, and people say, why do you always shop there? It's more expensive. And I said, because I remember that they're local, they're in my community, and there are people there that are employed. And with that mentality, one day I walked in, and the gentleman said to me, thank you for continuing to shop here and to, keep my job stable. And I thought, wow, here it is. I was thinking it. And he mirrored that right back to me in gratitude. And now we were in agreement with each other, and we were collective.
Mm.
And that is the sharing, of it all. And when we start to operate from that place of collective consciousness, magic happens.
Yeah. And when you were speaking, it reminded me of, because I've spoken a lot about this over the decades. Just the abundance and scarcity sort of theory, right? And if you're trying to hold on to your money and you're holding on to it and you won't spend it at that local business that costs a little bit more, you're not really demonstrating to the universe that you have faith that the money is going to come back, because
Right. Oh my gosh.
yeah, because we've spoken about this,
Right.
like I said, this is a big theme for, what did you put in
There is a big theme for that, right? That we don't have faith that it will come back to us.
right.
The lack of trust, right? We're
Yeah.
like, you know, um, yeah, that's huge. It reminds me of when people, they're giving something. I hear this often, and I'm challenging everybody out there from a financial, I guess we're moving in a little bit of a different direction, but it's it's a topic that I love to talk about. From the financial perspective, I often hear people say, well, I only have $10 to give. And I said, no, or I don't have it to give. The famous line is, I don't have it to give, but I'm going to give it to you anyways.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm like, that contradicts itself. So,
Totally. I'm sorry. You're just under the table if I'm
okay.
distracted.
So I say to everybody out there, it's either you have it to give or you don't have it to give.
Right.
If you have it in your hand, I have $10 to give, and be fine with it. The issue isn't the $10. The issue is you may not want to surrender your $10. So then surrender an amount of the $10 that you feel comfortable surrendering. If it's $2, then surrender the $2. Be comfortable with what you're surrendering. And that is the key to it all, is that is the truth. When we talk about authenticity and truth and giving freely, it's a heart issue. When we talk about that central energy point, it's the heart issue. We have to give from a place where it feels good to us. However the recipient receives it is on them. You're giving it from the purest place of who you are. And that's what is important, is that we're giving from the purest place of who we are. Only is a lack. All of a sudden, I only have $10 to give. You have $10 to give. Just take the only out of it. You have it to give.
Is it a guilt thing? Like, why even put, I don't have it, but here it is. I don't even understand what's the
Right.
point.
It does. It has a bad, heavy feeling to it. And for anybody that wants to receive money, like certainly if you're going to give something to me, I'd like you to give it with the same heart of freedom and, excitement and circulating and sharing that with me. I'm not looking for it to come with a feeling of guilt, and it doesn't have to be monetarily. It could be anything. It could be giving of your time, that you don't feel good about giving your time to somebody. That's a huge one, where you don't feel like giving your time to somebody, but you're doing it anyways. Well, it's not good energy. Like, we're contributing to all the unhealthiness. So you may not have to say, well, I don't want to give up my time. There's a way that we can handle it, that is loving for all involved. I'm just not in a position at this time. And I know for myself, when I said that once, and I thought, I'm not in a position at this time, because I really just wanted to relax. You're on the go, on the go, on the go. And I just wanted to relax. And I thought, and then I started to feel bad. Well, really, I can do it. And I thought, but I need to deposit into me.
Oh, there you go. That's the first thing to say. I like that. I'm like, I got to deposit into me. Well, I mean, that might not sound so nice, but I think it's really fair. You know what I mean? I think it's fair.
Right. Well, because if we're not filling ourselves up at the same, so that let's go back to your purpose in life mission. And when you're expressing it and you're creating your mission statement and you're sharing from the marketing piece of it, when you're filled up, you have so much to share. You want to share it, and you want to share it freely, and you have a lot of it to give. And it's about filling yourself up, first. And it's for me, from a spiritual place, from a heart place, where you're feeling good about yourself, your life, your family. You're feeling good about the whole, not just there'll always be stuff that we're working on. So I don't want to put it out there that you'll never arrive to it all being. I'm sure everybody has experienced those odd moments where everything just seemed in alignment, from family to finances. We've all had those little nugget moments.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just, and you breathe and you look around, and you're just like, and the gratitude that just fills your heart in that moment, that, wow, like, this is what it feels like. Right. And so it's really giving yourself an opportunity to have more of those nugget moments. Right. So that's really what it feels like and looks like. So so what do you think are the, when I think about this, I'm going to take it in a little bit of a different direction, because I think that one of the questions that was asked to me for this particular topic, somebody had written to me and said, what do you think stops people from going after their dreams, outside of the not having a mission statement? What do you think the core root is that stops people?
I'm doing a diaper change because it's, yeah.
Guys.
I think okay, so the question is, what stops people outside of not knowing their mission? I think that it's
like, so I know what I want to do. Why am I not going to do it?
I think that there's like some subconscious fear. I think that there's and I'll tell you this. I used to hear this from successful people, and I completely resisted it. And I resisted it and resented them from saying it, because they would say things like, well, you're not making money because you don't think you're worth it. You know, you don't love yourself. You don't do these things. And I was like, that's a load of crap. I love myself. I have self-worth. I have self-esteem. But then I started to, again, with the whole know thyself and thyself be true, start to look at all of these different things and like, hey, it's okay. It's okay. I'm like, well, I'm not really behaving my best self in this area. Why not? Perhaps I really don't love myself, or you know what? I didn't make that call, or I didn't do the thing I was supposed to do, but I'm saying that I want this level of success. Like, why am I self-sabotaging? And so I started to, oh, I'm sorry, baby. I started to sort of examine I started to examine myself. And then once I came again to the truth of who I was and what was really stopping me from success, I discovered a whole other world about myself. And then I started to work on those things, and I became better and stronger in those areas. And that gave me the confidence, or the discipline, or the commitment, or the focus, or the vision I needed to go ahead and take the next steps. But again, to me, and that's why I think that's the most important commandment. And I also use it in marketing. When a small business comes on board, I'm like, you got to know yourself, know thyself, and thyself be true. So again, I think it's fear that stops people. And I think once you really know yourself, and you know your limitations, or your choices, and you take ownership, then it gives you again the confidence to move ahead. But if you are fear failure, if you fear success, if you fear judgment, if you never try, you never fail, you know, if all those things are still subconsciously driving you, again, your marketing plan is not going to matter, your business plan is not going to matter, your financial plan.
It's interesting when you said know thyself, because I was fortunate enough as a little girl. My father was very he introduced me to a lot of the spiritual foundations that have led me to this moment of where I am today. And he always taught me to read it on a deeper level and to always examine it and ask questions. The cornerstone of my existence was seek ye the kingdom of God and all will be added to you. And my father challenged me at about 6 years old. You know, as young as 6 years old, I appreciated the fact that my father treated me like, you know, a very much of a grown up. Like I understood all this stuff that he was depositing into me at 6 years old. He acted like I knew it all and I could process it all. And it was a seed planting. And
exactly, I was just saying that.
Setting me up. And I appreciated that. And what I took from that, based on my father's teachings with me, were, and all would be added to you, is study thyself, know thyself. And when you understand who you are, you get to walk into and step into your personal power. And
nobody can tell you who you are, right? It's
through that, right?
All the time,
right? And I think that helps. It doesn't 100% do it, but it helps to dismantle some of the fear that stops us from moving forward, because all of a sudden we feel okay to go forward with it when we understand it. And believe me, it's not as easy as it sounds. It's a tremendous.
Not at all. It's quite.
Well, it's loaded. We've got outside influences. We've got past programming. We've got lineage stuff. Like we can go down another whole different 5 roads on those topics, and have conversations about them. And really, you know, I say to everybody out there, it's so easy to sit where you're at. It's a lot more challenging to have the courage. And really, you know, it's one of the talks that I give. It takes courage, and because it takes courage to walk into the truth of who you are. It takes, because I say the old mind doesn't meet the new world. All of a sudden, the people that you attracted into your life in the old mindset, how do you exist with them? With the new mindset in the new world, the truth of who you are. So all of a sudden, if somebody treated you a certain way in the old world, and you come into the truth of who you are, and you're like, no, you're not going to talk to me that way. You're not going to treat me that way. All of a sudden, there's a conflict.
Absolutely. They don't like this new you.
Right. And because people are uncomfortable with that person that you're adjusting to it too, it will, and not because, you know, they're great people. It's just the energies. I like to look at it from a place of energy, because it leaves you in a place of more of a loving place versus an angered place with any individual. it's just those energies, they're not in sync anymore. Right. So all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, how, and you're learning how to navigate through this new change and all the rest of that. But so it takes a tremendous amount of courage. And I know in the years in my experience of working with people one-on-one, that is one of the most challenging places, where they get to this place where they feel excited that they've discovered parts of who they are and they discovered themselves. But then they're faced with this realization that, oh my gosh, how am I going to exist in this world now with the environment? And when I say the world, the environment that I've surrounded myself in. And that is the challenge placed before them. And some people, because of the unknown of what this new life looks like, it's not predictable. So it's uncomfortable to trust it. So some people would prefer to stay in the unhealthiness of it all because it's predictable. And even though it makes them unhappy, and some people will press through. I'm encouraging each and every one of you out there to have the courage to press through, because your body feels healthier, things start to happen in your life. You just live from a different space of happiness within your soul. You feel better about yourself because you're living from your truth. And that takes a lot of courage and a lot of work at the same time. So, and what do you have to offer to that? I think she's on mute. I don't think she realizes. Oh, there.
Yeah, so you don't have to hear all this.
Oh, okay. What do you have to offer to that?
Oh, sorry, she distracted me. So repeat. So I was listening to what you're saying, but just encapsulate it for me so I can answer really quickly.
So the new world and the old world.
Oh, right. I think that you have to teach people that you really are who you've now created yourself to be, or who you say you are, by continually showing up as that person. Because I think that they will. Here, Jordan, honey. There you go. I think that people will challenge you. They'll test you. They won't believe that you are this new person that you are. They won't want to give you the new kind of respect that you're now setting, or the boundaries that you want. And there was a really great quote, something about, the only people that aren't happy about your new change are those who no longer benefit from,
right.
Yeah. Something like that, right?
Right.
It's on Instagram too, at Nakimbe Baobab. But yeah, because I was challenged with family and some friends, but mainly family, that like, who do you think you are, or this or that. And again, like you were saying, once we come into our purpose, it's like, this is not really about me. This is about something bigger, and it's bigger than you, and it's bigger than me. So what you're saying can't challenge me. I am who I am. I am doing what I'm saying I'm doing. And once you, like I say, consistently show up as the new person that you say you're going to be, people will be like, oh, she really is changed. She really does mean it. She really is this person. And I think as they start to see new people who come into your life treat you as the new version of yourself, right? Because people who meet you for the first time in your new way of being, they'll treat you like that because they don't know your past, right? Right. Not your mother who knows you as a little kid and is not going to take you seriously, kind of thing, just as an example. And so I think when other people start to see that, and when it gets validated and witnessed in the world, validated and witnessed, I would say, when people bring testimony to something. Banana? No. I think that it makes, again, it just sort of, it validates it, it verifies it, it reinforces it. It's like, oh, this person really is, who they really have changed. And I better get in line because everybody else is in line. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think it's an adjustment period. I think it's hard. It's funny because I'd like to have I'm just putting it out there that I would like for anybody that wants to write into me and have a conversation about this, with the new mind in the old world. It's a very complex conversation because especially we are more challenged when we are dealing with our family members. that when we're doing this work to come into our authentic self, we've all inherited, you know, with our primary caregivers, this program, and that program has made them comfortable as well. It's fed them and it's kept them safe through you. So all of a sudden you're operating from a different place, and it really isn't about them. It is about them. It's a collective actually. So I apologize for that, but it's a collective where all of a sudden what has kept them comfortable, you're exposing that stuff that they can't deal with because you've now come into your truth. And especially when it's family members, that's very challenging for them to do. And I know that I can speak on behalf of some individuals in my own life who we were used to approaching life maybe from a not so calm state. And all of a sudden it was like, I don't have to do this to myself anymore. Like there's a different way to respond to life, you know. And I thought about it from a loving place where all of a sudden it was like, every time I respond to life this way, it distorts my cells, it does this to my body, it ages my body, you know, it wrinkles my skin, it does all this stuff. And there was a different way. And to now have to go back to certain individuals and respond in a calmer way, all of a sudden they were uncomfortable. They didn't know how to respond in that way because they had practiced so long, and you participated growing up in the environment responding in an unhealthier way. So it really is a lot of adjustment to navigate between showing those you love that it's okay, we're still in a safe place together. And I'm just paving the way to show and demonstrate that we can exist even better than before in this new calm state. It's interesting. We can't hear her because she's on mute. Yeah. So have you found that for yourself?
Tanya, say that again, hun.
Have you found that for yourself?
That there's an adjustment period, or it makes them uncomfortable because
it makes it because it exposes a side of them they've taught. So our primary caregivers are those closest to us, not even our, like it could be close friends or whoever, but those people that are close knit with us, all of a sudden, you know, we've attracted, say, friends based on that frequency we were on. And all of a sudden, you guys are used to interacting and responding in a certain way. And then you start to do this work and know thyself and understand there's a calmer, more loving way to deal with it. And you now deal with them in this new space, and it's uncomfortable for them because it's exposing them to the uncomfortable understanding that there is something healthy.
Well, you know what? I have an example of that. Oh, she's got red stuff on her cheek, and I got concerned, but it's just because I kissed her and I forgot I was wearing red lipstick.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to wrap up in about 8 minutes. So she's not gonna cooperate much longer. But yeah. So I had a family member who's just in the habit of always criticizing, and it's partly cultural training, right? I also found out that, you know, their father was also that same way, right? So there can be all the blaming and judgment part of it if you want there to be, but you can also realize that people are sort of a product of their environment, and then you get into a habit. So this person was in the habit of always being like, oh, you're fat, or oh, of course you lost the keys, or this, or just like these little jabs, not even anything major, but just every day, a little peck, a little peck, a little peck, right? And I would, again, because of I know thyself philosophy, I would feel something inside of me. And I'm like, I'm not comfortable with this feeling. What is it? And dialogue didn't help. You know, asking the person to stop didn't help. Sometimes I would try to give the jabs back, but then I was like, I don't like that. I don't know. That's not me. That's not who I want to be. And I sort of felt powerless to stop this person's behavior. And so again, because I am, you know, on social media with a fairly decent following, I posted, I was like, yeah, well, yeah, everyone thinks my life is so great, but it's actually not. You know, I get insulted by this person at least twice a day. You know what I mean? I'm human just like you. Don't think that because I'm traveling or whatever, that I don't have my issues, you know, like this person does this to me. And so that that got back to the person, right? And so then it became this issue of, well, why would you post that about this family member? Like, how dare you embarrass any of everybody? But it's kind of like, well, is that the question you should be asking? Should the question be not like, why are you insulting, your family member? And it did sort of bring to light, it did bring that, it brought it to light that you are choosing to say hurtful words. And the way that I'm validating what you're saying is that it does sort of bring out their own behavior. It's because after that became public, and they didn't quite like it, I would, when someone's about to say something and they stop themselves, and it's like, oh, so you did know how to stop. I didn't say it, of course, but in my head, I'm like, oh, so you did know how to stop yourself from saying these things all the time. You do know how to, if not say something kind, you know how they have that saying, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. So you do know how to shut your mouth, but you have been choosing. So you're right. And when I put those boundaries up and when I started to stand up for who I am, which is a person who I do not accept abuse, and I know we use positive words, but I choose to be empowered, put it that way. If you're not empowering me, then I might have to displace you from my life, right? But it did really make that person have self-reflection, because what could someone say? Oh, Nakimbe lied about you. It's like, no, I didn't. You
Right.
can't deny that you do what you do. And if what you're doing is good, then there should be no shame or embarrassment in it being public. But it is, because it's not good behavior, and you know that, but you're choosing to do it anyway. So
And that happens when you do the work and you start to create those boundaries and standards.
absolutely.
And I think that it's a good opportunity to end there, because it's a whole conversation that I feel that has to be had, is teaching people how to treat you and having boundaries once you've done that work. And how do we survive and how do we coexist in environments with people we love? And I stress that because I think a lot of people are fearful of, oh my gosh, if I do this work, I got to leave everybody around me. And it's like, no, what you're having the opportunity to do is to be the example that we can exist in a healthier state and an even better
It
state.
gives them the opportunity to also do that introspection and look at themselves, and why am I doing this, and why do I feel this way? And it gives them an opportunity to learn and grow as well when we set our own boundaries.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you very much for joining us today on Tanya Talks. And thank you, Jordan, for joining our Tanya Talks today. This is real life, guys. This is what's happening, especially in this pandemic. When we're life is not looking. This is our new normal. Life is not.
It is.
That are working from home and they've got their online, the kids online at school. This is what it looks like. So this is the authenticity of it all. Follow me on Instagram at Tanya Talks 4. You can also find me here on Facebook on my Tanya Talks page. And you can also visit the website at tanyatalks.ca for anybody that wants to go and have a look. We have a lot of guests lined up over the next few weeks that we are going to have phenomenal conversations just like this right here, bringing it to you live. Just stay tuned. And yeah, thank you all. You guys have a fabulous day. Tanya Talks, real issues, real, just having things that matter to us most. That's what it's all about. Have a fabulous day, everybody. Take care.
For inviting me. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
Bye, love.